Hello there, it's Tails from Studio Wildfire here, and today I'm going to be playing with Dungeon Scrawl, powered by Roll20. I'm going to see if I can teach myself how to use this program to use map tiles so I can show other people how to do it. I haven't read any manuals, I haven't read any documentation. Who reads these days, seriously? So I'm just going to jump straight in and muddle my way through. So let's click the big blue start button and see what happens. Okay, so we've come in here. Now I'm not going to be signing up for Pro. I'm just going to use the default version because I'm just testing this out. So let's go create new. So here's a map. So you get annual subscriptions. Woohoo! I'm not going to do that right now. Don't show me again, please. Cool. Okay. So now, hopefully, I'm not using a mouse. I'm using a pen. So hopefully that's not going to cause any issues. So, okay, over here we've got layers, and these seem to be folders in the layers. So hopefully they work as folders. Okay, cool. And then they have information up here, so you can, okay, so you can have opacity. Now, this program is designed so that it can do like, it'll make stuff for you. So for example, I looked like, so that's, what's that? That's the object tool. This is the rectangle tool, which I assume, yeah, it draws out a rectangle. And if I do this, draws out another, draws out a bit more. So you can, so it's one of those programs that's designed to make dungeons like this really quick. And it's awesome at doing that. And I think this makes doors. So if I put a door, or is it sort of, how do I do doors? Do I just draw them like that? Oh. So why can't I go like that? Or is it drawn a door, but I'm on the wrong layer? Do you draw them? Okay, hang on. So if I hide that... Oh, I have been drawing the door, but it's on a different layer. Okay, so this will be interesting to learn. Okay, so that's... Send to back. Ah, there we go. So there's our door there. Ah, right. Okay, so let's see if we can get rid of... Delete layer. There we go. Delete layer. So we've got a background. We've got... Okay, the doors are actually in bits. Let's delete those. Oh, door geometry. Ooh. So it looks like you can come along and edit it later on. Ooh, interesting. But I'm going to get rid of those. But anyway, so I have had a little bit of a look at this before, but this is going to be my first time trying to use my map tiles in this program as well. And I'm going to be using my Egyptian map tiles. Now, I think I can just straight up drag and drop, and they'll become assets in my images. This little images palette over here. So let's just see how we go. So hang on, this is... Okay, so this is all stuff that you can get, but I'm just going to go uploads. So there's nothing there yet because I put nothing there. So let's just drag in our first one. Plonk it down. Now it asks us, when we go to put the art asset down, it's asked us the size, pixels per cell. Now I use 180. So I want this to be 180. There we go. Done. Now, nothing's on the board up here. I assume. So this is the pan tool. So that's that pans the map. This is the object tool. Okay. So if we grab this, if we just tap on it, it automatically puts one down on the table. Now, hang on. If I use my mouse wheel, it scrolls in and out. Okay, so it doesn't seem to like me using my pen, which could be a problem. Because look at that, it's not sort of like going. Okay. To the mouse. Doesn't like pen. That's going to be because I use a graphics tablet. Okay, yeah, it so prefers the mouse, which is a pain. Maybe it will be okay if I use one of my other pens, which is not so finicky. Let's try this pen. No. Oh, Zoe. Shush. I'm looking after my sister's dog. Hang on. Whoop. Okay. Alright. Back again. Whoops. I'm dropping stuff. The joys of looking after dogs for family. Okay. So this looks like it really prefers that if you're using a mouse. That's unfortunate because I like using my graphics tablet. But the snap, like the snap on it, is really good. Now, looking at this straight away, I can see that there's a couple of little handholds. So this one at the top here, I'm going to take a bet that is, yep, rotate. And I'll bet these on the side are for scaling. Yeah. Okay, so I just scaled that down to nothing. And by the looks of it, these are folders. So this is a folder which has my image in it. So let's just go. So right clicking brings up this little menu, and we'll delete that layer. And I can create. Whoops. Man, everything's just fallen apart today. Okay. And I can create, folders. That's what we want. So let's get rid of this. Delete. Background. Whoops, wrong button. No. Oh, so you can't get rid of the background. Okay. Pardon me. I'm getting over the flu. The flu has not been good this year. Although, mind you, it wasn't as bad as other years. Okay. So we've worked out that when we drag in an object, so if we drag in another one, it asks me this again, but it keeps the old setting, so we don't have to set that again and again and again. Excellent. But we don't drag and drop from here. We just click and it just adds it onto the desktop, onto the canvas. So that is cool. So we can just plonk, plonk, plonk. Grab these, just drop them in the folder. And we should just be able to just come along, name this. Let's just call it floor. That's pretty much what I've been putting in there. Floor. Aha. So we can do what we normally do in other programs. So we create, let's call this walls. So now the question is, in this uploads folder, can I have other folders? No, I don't seem to be able to. so we'll just make a little. So let's just make a little room. Drag in a couple of assets. So we'll make it this 3x3 room. Drag this one in. Now this looks a bit annoying that you have to drag it in before you can sort of, you know, use it and go through this dialogue. But I'm assuming once it's in there, you just keep using from here, and you can then search. You can search these. So, for example, we could go floor, and it'll just show us, you know, all those items. That's pretty cool. So let's just drag a few of these in, and make this room the floor for this room. Because I assume, like, the whole idea is that you import all your assets and you build up your own little library. Now, I have a funny feeling that because I'm not on a paid plan, and I'm also not signed in, none of this is going to be kept by the program. If I come back to use it again, I have a funny feeling all this will, you know, this is only being in here while I'm using the program. This one instance. Now, can I select multiple? No, I can't. So that's okay, but you know, it's pretty good otherwise. So the usual thing: drag and drop, put them into your folders. Because the whole idea about this program is that it's a map builder for building maps for use in Roll20. And I'm starting to publish material to the Roll20 platform. And I thought it would be a good idea to try out Roll20's map builder. So if you press and hold down your middle mouse button, you can move around. You don't have to go and click here to move around. Although, what's this one? Assume that's the brush tool. Yes. Okay, so we've got a little room. Okie dokie. So let's close that. And we can hide the whole folder. That's pretty cool. So let's bring in some walls, and let's put a wall around here. But we'll have a door up the top and a door down the bottom. So let's go back to my sandstone walls. Okay, so drag and drop. And again, it'll ask us to, because see, normally I like to have folders in this, but I'm assuming you use the word search to search for the components. So we'd go and put that there. So the snap is great. That is always the most important thing about this building method, is having good snap. There we go. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a slow and laborious task the first time you do this, because you would drag in all the pieces. But once they're in there, they're set, they're done. I might ask the people at Roll20 what one would have to do. So I'll put these into the walls folder. There we go. And again, you know, you can just hide the whole lot. That's pretty cool. So I might ask, ask the people that I deal with how I could, or if it's possible, to make material that, you know, is just like these guys. you can see, you know, these guys here, they've made packs that you can just start using straight away. I might find out whether some way I can sort of join in on that. So here we go. Yep. So I assume what you would do is you'd download all the art assets, have it on your computer. Then, pardon me, upload them into your library here. Because then they become a part of your library. I assume that, yep, they go into your images resources. Yeah. And this is where you can come along and you can go wall. And it will, I assume. Okay. I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with that. Because I know sandstone corner block. Oh, it's because these ones don't have the name wall in it. I'll have to rename a few things when I upload to Roll20 so that walls actually have as part of their name wall, and floor has part of its name floor. Then I'll bet that this search feature will work really well. Whereas at the moment, so if I search for corner, yeah, here, yeah, it comes out like that. So then if I call it wall dash corner dash something or other else, it'll give it it'll make the word search really, really powerful. That's actually really good. Whereas at the moment, I just do a visual search of this folder, which works. And you know, then I've got folders of pathways and stuff like that. So let's just go through and make a little dungeon. So I think the best way to approach using this program so far, with how it's working for me, man, there's so much stuff going around at my place. There's birds and dogs barking. Goodness me. Okay, so let's put another. So I think you'd import all these pieces rather than doing it sort of a bit at the time, the way I'm doing it. You'd import them all at once. So you just sit there going drag drop, which would be laborious and annoying. But I mean, like, you know, it gets it done. But once it's done, all these are in, and assuming you've got a paid account, because I assume if you've got a paid account, it keeps all this stuff. I assume. I'll have to probably take a paid account to test this. But once you've got a paid account, I bet it's very easy to do. So let's just, so put these into walls, and you just drag and drop. And so far I'm actually enjoying this. It's pretty cool. The interesting thing will be when I come to export, because I don't think, like, I work on a scale of 180 pixels per each of my grid squares. I think Roll20 pardon me. I think Roll20 uses a scale of 50 to 70 pixels by default. So I remember seeing something that said, and there, yeah. So I know I've got doorway written in that name. So if I go, yeah, that's cool. So search the search feature could be, once you've got this fully loaded, the search feature will be really powerful. I like that. Okay, so let's just put some more pieces in. As you can see, like, you know, the drag and drop, it's working pretty good, and it highlights things really good as well. So put that into walls. Yeah, I quite like it so far. You know, if you don't if you don't use another graphics editor like Photoshop or GIMP or something, like a dedicated photographic editor, this would be a good way of making your adventure maps. So I think I'm going to write a little tutorial. Let's put a pit trap in here. Let's make it too wide. There we go. I mean, too tall. Now, put it into our floor, and then just, whoops, wrong thing. That could be a problem. I could easily see, because this works, so where you pick up whatever's on top. I wonder if they've got a way to lock. Ah, no, they don't. That would be cool if they had a way to lock layers so you can't adjust them once they're placed. But you know that this is whoops. This is working pretty good. So let's make a little room here, a little room, another room maybe here or something. Or so let's work on the walls. So we'll come back to the floor. So we'll have a room here. Let's go with our passageways. Make it sort of, you know, the bricks are a bit chunky. There we go. So it'll come out here and then have a room here. So that goes into our walls. There we go. So how is your Monday panning out? Mine's been a bit of chaos with barking dogs going mad. I think someone knocked on the door, because she usually barks at delivery drivers. I don't know why. It's just what she does. She has a thing for delivery drivers. She must eat them, which is quite funny because she's actually not a big dog. She sounds, little Zoe sounds like she's just huge, but she's actually quite, like, she barely comes up to my knee. She just has one hell of a set of lungs on her for a little dog. And then we'll use these ones, which is there. Just drag and drop them into the folder they belong in. So I wonder, like, I'm just going to make a little map because I want to try exporting and I want to try saving it. Because I'm curious to see whether, because I don't have a paid account, I'm curious to see whether I can save what I make. Save it and reopen it. So let's just put some. No, I don't think. I think one of the downsides to this problem, to this program, not a problem. So far this program's been pretty cool. I think one of the downsides is there we go. Is there's going to be no masking, I'm assuming. It might be able to draw on it. Maybe some of the select tools down here will allow you to mask things, but that is usually like a pretty advanced thing to do, even in a graphics editing application. Oops. So I'll use some of these walls. There it is. And let's go for something down here. Oh, no. We want... Here we are. This one. So yeah, I think if you're using this program, you'd load up your art assets into this first, and then start building. Whereas at the moment, I'm dragging them in one at a time, and then sort of double clicking. I don't think you would do that, because that sort of makes double work of a lot of things. But the objective is to have something that, you know, it looks characterful. That's what we're heading for. You know, it doesn't look like everybody else's map. You're looking for something that looks, you know, has the character that you want it to have. Okay, so let's go back to our floor. Now let's do an interesting thing. So let's just drag in this one. Put that there, and again, you know, got to drag it to the right folder. Put this one in. Put it in. Now, this is going to be the interesting bit. Put in floor. Now I want to create another folder, because I'll make a wooden floor in here. So where did it go? Did it go inside another folder? Yep, it did. That is quite cool. That's good. So let's call this wooden floor. Now I'm going to make a wooden floor in here and some steps just here. And I did it in another folder that is within the floor folder, because that way, so let's grab some steps first. Okay, let's use this one. Yep, like that. Click. So we're going to pop it right there. But it's sitting up. Everything that comes in new, every newly placed piece goes at the top of the list, and then you've then got to move it down like that. So that's, yep, and then we'll just, so I'll move these in a bit, but I'm just going to plonk these down. Like so. So hang on, so I got 1, 2. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. whoops, no, that's 6 there, 7. So I need 7 wooden steps, wooden floor tiles. So pop those there. So this is what I think you would do. Come on, there we go. So I think you would come along and you would be like, okay, so I need 7 tiles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then, because now that they're here, you'd come along, you'd word search. So go. So there's the wood. So there's all of our tiles. So you'd come along and you'd go that one, that one, this one, and see, it goes pretty quickly. Once you've staged all the assets, it's really quick. I think I missed a few, but so that, okay, so we've got them all in place, and then we just drag and drop them into the right folder. And there's our wooden floor added in where we want it. Our map is, it's pretty concise. There's only a walls folder, floor folder with a subfolder for the wooden floor. Our background, which is, it's just the background. I think you can put, like you can turn the background into like a paper texture or something. But once you add in your dynamic lighting, it's not going to matter because you're not going to see outside the walls. Okay, so we've got, a room here. We've got a room here. We've got a pit trap. Let's just, maybe make a circular room down here, and this will be why masking is a bit of a thing. And I'll have to maybe look at how they mask stuff, or if they have masking. I'm going to take a wild guess that they probably don't. That they probably don't have masking, because it's a nice basic program, and they're tools that for quick making maps are all to the grid, so you wouldn't worry about masking. But there's going to be times where you'll want to mask. Okay, so let's go back to our floor tiles, and let's just quickly add in a bunch of these. So that we have a little bit of variety. And I can just quickly stamp down a whole heap of these floor tiles. So there we go. So we've got a nice variety of them. And they're named sandstone floor. So let's just see. The wood tiles are in there as well. So let's just see. If I can sort of sandstone. There we go. But it's giving the walls as well. Yeah, I'll have to work on the naming so that it's easy to use in Dungeon Scrawl. But like the whole idea is that you just come along and go click, put that in place. It's going in place pretty quickly. Put this one here because that'll need to go in there. But I'll show you the problem with masking. So if we put these into our floor folder, just like that, popping them in place. Okay, so if we have this come into like a room with circular walls, like curved walls, and if we have, so we go door, yep, so we use this just here, that's our doorway, goes into our walls, but let's just say we're putting in, we're using 5-foot curved walls here. So let's just quickly drag them in. So that one, so I'm just going to use the straight standard ones. And this one. Okay, so if we come along and we do this, oops. We do that, and then we have so let's pop back up and just grab a flat piece of wall. There we are. And where did that get put? Down here. Here we go. Yep, there we are. So you can see that we've got poke through behind this wall. Now technically that's not a problem, because when you have your dynamic lighting walls put in, you're not going to see past the wall. You're not going to see that. So you won't see this poke through. It's not that big a deal. But, if you're somebody like me and you look at that and you go, oh, I want to mask that out, it'd probably be something you'd fix it in a graphics editor once you've done building in here. So let's just put them in our walls, because I'm curious to see how the output works. So let's just make an entrance over here. Because it's like, this is a little cut down map making tool. Like, it's really good for the simplicity of it. It is actually really good. Okay, so let's make some, in this entrance we've got some columns. So we'll have like, a little colonnade coming out this way. Here we go. And then do the other side. And then we'll have these ones. And where did that go? Oh, there it is up the top. There we go. And come back down here. Grab these. Yep. Yeah, so you can build adventure maps in in this program using map tiles. It does require a little setup, but I think once you've got your setup done, it's fine. And the whole idea is that you're building, you're building adventure maps that have the character that you want. Oh, there it is. That's got hieroglyphs on it, which was what I was looking for. I haven't put in doorway on this side. Here we are. So then we could, so let's just, put all this into the walls. There we are, and then we'll just put a floor in, and then I'm going to export this little map to see how it comes out. So now I want to see, so put in an interesting looking trapdoor. So I could go there. And then we just go, just fill in the floor area here. Oops. There we go. So it's over the top of what the walls that I've put in, but I would, when I put these into the floor folder, they will jump down. Okay. Oops. So just like that, and then plonk. Oh no, they want them into the floor, not into the walls. That's the wrong folder. Go in there. Now, believe it or not, like it looks a little laborious dragging and dropping each one of these into the floor folder, but believe it or not, GIMP only recently added in that functionality to itself. So there's a little adventure map. So this could be an entrance of some kind coming into some passageways. So let's have a look now. How would we? So download. So yes, so I can see here that we've got subscribe for cloud save. So that would be saving it to the cloud in the program itself, so you could come along. But I assume download Dungeon DS. So I'm just going to put this on my desktop. So I assume that is a file that I could come along and I can open up later. So if I used import from save file, that's a pro feature. Okay. So now Now we're looking for background texture. So I'm assuming that's what the background will become. Oh, taking a bit of time to load. Let's have a look. Oh no, that's a pro feature. So there's that one. That's unfortunate. Having a background's a pro feature. So let's have a look at export. Okay, so we can do PNG or PDF. I'm assuming PNG is just what we have. Can't do high resolution. Export a high resolution map by offloading work to Dungeon Scrawl. No, so we're just going to go with, let's just call it test map. So 70 is the default size that they work with. And so let's just go. Oh, there it is. I knew it had a system. I knew it had a system where, because it was telling me it was 3x3 cells, and I was like, no. So you can actually say, okay, I just want this area to save out. There we go. So that should just be the area. So let's just go export and see what happens. Okay, so it's a test map, 10 by 10. I'm gonna whack it in my downloads. Save. Cool. Okay, now let's jump over to GIMP. I'm actually going to open that because I want to see what we've come up with. Oops, there it is. There it is. Yeah. So it is. Oh, it's actually kept. It's actually kept the markers of where the grid squares are, here and here. And the grid squares are how big is that? Oops, hang on. But the output looks pretty good. Yep, it is 70, because I can see it goes, it says 50, that's 75. So yeah, it is 70. So it's 70 pixels per grid square. So it actually where's our zoom? Oops, there we go. So yeah, it's actually done. It's done for a little program. It's done pretty good. And it's exported out at a different resolution. Like I usually do most of my stuff in 180 pixels. To give you an idea, let me just go create new. Use my template. So this is a 10 by 10 map card I'm working on at my usual scale. Let's just fill it with a color that's not just black, and turn on snap and turn on my map grid. There we go. Now, if I go back to here, just go select all, edit, copy, back over to here and go edit, paste. So this shows you the difference. So this is a 70 pixel by 70 pixel grid, where I use an 180 by 180 pixel grid. So it's done a pretty good job. I can't complain about that. That's not bad. I do like that. The only question now becomes, so I'll just get rid of that and I'll close that and go back to Dungeon Scrawl. So the only question becomes, so if I leave, because I'm not signed in, I don't have a paid subscription. So let's just say I leave. I go to google.com. Oop. I'll go to another page. But then if I come back, so if I come back, here we go. So open a save file, and I put this on my desktop from memory. There it is. So let's see. So yeah, if I do open that file that I saved, it does repopulate with all the bits in the right places, in the correct folders. Yeah, that's pretty good. So you could stop partway through and start building. Stop building the map, then go away, do something or other else, then come back later on, and you could pick up, reload the map and pick up where you left off. The only downside is I have a funny feeling that the cache of artwork will not be there. I could be wrong. I'll have to try closing down my browser and then coming back. But I've got a funny feeling that because I don't have a paid account, this won't be here. Which is a little bit of a problem, but it's not that big of a problem. But yeah, Dungeon Scrawl is pretty cool. If you want to use map tiles, like it's obviously built to do. It's built to do. It's built to do. Their ready-made dungeons. Let's go dungeon layer. It's built to do this. Whoops. Where is it? Oh, it's not going to do it for me. Where is... It's built to do that. Which it's really good at. Its entire purpose is that. Which, if you like that sort of thing, if that's your cup of tea, power be to you. But if you like having something that's, a little bit more character, a little bit more artsy, try it out. It is a good... Dungeon Scrawl is a good app for making maps for your adventures. I recommend. It gets the Tailz seal of approval. But let's jump into GIMP, and I'm going to make one of my map cards, because I'm making a endless dungeon crawl. Oops, let's just put get away from the black and turn on my grid and my grid snap. So I'm going to pull my graphics tablet down so I can go back to using my pen, because I really like using my pen to draw. It's so much nicer than a mouse. Trying to draw with a mouse is like trying to draw with a brick. It's okay if the brick is a giant crayon and you're trying to do a childish painting, but I like drawing with a pen. So let me just adjust a few things here on my table. Put that there, and then pull my graphics tablet forward and swing it down. Here we go. So there we go. Okay. So now I've got my pen and I've got my map tiles over here. So we can build an adventure map, and I can talk a little bit more easily because I'm not trying to figure out how Dungeon Scrawl works, because I've never used Dungeon Scrawl before. I do like this capability to make patterns and shapes and stuff in Dungeon Crawl. That is pretty cool, but I don't know, it's just not my cup of tea. So I'm going to get rid of that. Boop, go away. Dungeon Scrawl, you are pretty cool. I am going to make a tutorial for people who want to make adventure maps in Dungeon Scrawl, but my my map making programs of choice are GIMP, GIMP and Photoshop. If this is your first time tuning in, hello. I make map tiles, which you can see here on the right. Actually, I'm going to jump to a different pack. So I'm in my Egyptian map tiles. So I would think I was using my catacombs. So let's go to the stone wall overlay. I think that's what I've been using. Yep. Okay, so yeah, I've been making map tiles and whatnot for quite a while. And the reason why I was looking at Dungeon Scrawl is that I've recently started publishing material to the Roll20 marketplace. So I thought I'd better actually have a look at their dungeon map making tool and see whether I can do a tutorial on how to use it. And that's what drove me to go and have a look at Dungeon Scrawl to figure out how to use it. But what I'm going to do at the moment is I'm just going to make a map card because I'm making a dungeon crawler, and the dungeon crawler is going to consist of a number of 10 by 10. So this is a 10 by 10 grid square. Let's zoom in a little bit so it looks a bit more interesting. So fill window, there we go. So it's a 10 by 10 map card that's going to have doorways on the sides, so you can place one map card beside another, and the whole idea is that it makes an endless dungeon crawler. And then what you do as the game master is you just put a number of these cards down side by side, and slowly build up a dungeon for your players to explore. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I've been doing at the moment, is building lots of these map cards, which are basically just a big maze. Pardon me. So I'm going to build another one, because I usually stream from, for those who are new, I usually stream from 10 o'clock in the morning through to lunchtime, where I take a break, get some food, put some food in my belly, and then I, do something else for the rest of the day. So, what am I going to do here? So, let's make but one of the other things that I also do is I make an adventure in an adventure world called The Cube. Now, The Cube is a magical puzzle world, and if you're wondering about the theme of the cube is like it's a giant maze world to explore. There's various different technology levels in the world of the cube. The majority of the wilderness is basically sort of medieval technology level with magic and whatnot, because a lot of the people who are in the world of the cube, they have been kidnapped from elsewhere, and they've been magically just sort of marooned, dumped into the world of the cube. So it's sort of like the technology level out there in the wilderness is pretty low because everybody's sort of scrounging to get by. Oops. And every now and then I have to sort of stop and think about what I'm doing with my adventure map as I'm talking. But yeah, the technology level out there in the world of the cube There are areas of high technology. So, for example, the Imperial Gnome cities, they are what I kind of call crystal ball cyberpunk. Um, you imagine a society where their god that they worship is a god called Mechanos, and Mechanos is the god of innovation, machines, and puzzles. So the Imperial Gnome Empire, and they worship him. So the Imperial Gnome Empire, they're very keen to, innovate. So they've innovated all these magic items and all of these devices, but they're still sort of, they're locked in a lot of dogma and stuff like that. So it's sort of crystal ball cyberpunk, if you sort of get what I mean. They're like, instead of a computer, they'll have a crystal ball that's been programmed with a little elemental inside it who does what a computer would do. That sort of thing. Now, I should put some folders in the map that I'm actually making. Oops, I did not mean to do that. That created a folder for everything that I had selected. So we want a folder here, and we're going to call it walls. So yeah, I quite often I'll discuss the adventure world while I'm building some maps. But I also do, I'll also sometimes when I live stream, I will just do drawing streams where I draw the pieces that I'm going to create, because I do 3D modeling as well. So I'll actually draw, I'll draw up the plans of what I'm going to make before I actually make the 3D models. So sometimes I'll do a drawing stream where I'm just drawing, all the bits and pieces that I'm going to be making. And, obviously discussing those bits and pieces. So let's use this one. So yeah, like the last drawing stream that I did, I discussed the font of understanding, which is going to be the next major piece in the world of the cube that I'm working on, and it is what's the best way to explain it? It's sort of the font of understanding is it's a shrine to a magical device that creates an elixir. Now, the elixir was originally created for wizards who had animal familiars, and they wanted these animal familiars to be more useful. And so the way that they thought they'd be more useful is if they could communicate with them easily. That, they could basically have like a familiar dog, and they could just talk to the dog, and the dog would understand them perfectly fine. And the dog necessarily couldn't talk back to them, because it's a dog. It could it could do that, but it couldn't talk. But it did have, because of this elixir, the dog would gain full comprehension of the language that is being spoken to it, which would obviously be, very beneficial, because then you don't have to, try and work out what the dog's thinking, because the dog can, understand you perfectly fine. And I'm missing, here we go, cornerstones. And put these in here. So yeah, so the Font of Understanding is a place where this elixir grants the understanding of languages and very basic concepts to animals. Doesn't the elixir doesn't really work on creatures that already have that understanding. It'll give you a really bad headache if you try and take it, because you already have this knowledge in your brain. So you'll have knowledge fighting with knowledge. So yeah, that was the last drawing stream where I was really sort of nutting out how I want, what do I want the front to look like? Because the front has these two obelisks, and they sort of guard the entrance into the font. So it's difficult to get into, because the whole idea is that the wizard who originally created the font, he was sort of doing it, he was paid to do it by a wizard community. And so he created the font, and then he put in security measures that would, to a large sized person, would not harm them, but you're not exactly going to try and break into the place, because it's going to hurt you if you try and break in. But it has become, over time, used by different creatures to gain, intelligence and intellect. And those creatures want to continue using it. And that's sort of where the adventure comes from, is that those creatures now can't get into it. They can't get into it because originally how they got into it was there was a thunderstorm, and their sire, or the creator of their lineage, managed to get past the sentinel obelisks, because the sentinel obelisks have a big crystal that anyone who tries to enter or come within, say, 20 feet of the entrance, the crystal shoots a beam of flame at them and basically tries to set them on fire. So it's dangerous from that aspect, but to us, we'd work out a way to get around that pretty quickly. But to little creatures, they'd have a hard time with that. So obviously, they've called on adventurers and said, "Hey, help us get inside this place. We need the stuff that's in there. You can help us get in there." And that's where that part of the adventure comes from, is helping these creatures get access to this place. So I'm just going to make this a basic set of rooms, and then I'll put something interesting into the rooms later on. But yeah, that was the Font of Understanding. That's going to be the next major port of call in the great quest that I'm working on. That's sort of the next piece. The piece that I'm working on right at the moment is a revamp of an old adventure for the world of the cube. And the old adventure it's called the Warrior's Blessing. And what it is that a warrior who died a while ago, and he was interred in the graveyard at a place called the village of Carlsberg. He has started to, at least several years ago, he started to haunt the graveyard, and he's haunting the place because he died with unfinished business, and his unfinished business is the great quest, is finding the doorway to get home. And so he now haunts the graveyard Although he is a friendly ghost. He's a friendly ghost. He's friendly as long as you don't try to rob his mausoleum, his tomb. If you try to steal anything from his tomb, he turns into a poltergeist, and he's grumpy. He's a grumpy poltergeist. He'll kick you out of the graveyard and take back his stuff. So don't steal his stuff. That that makes him grumpy. But yeah, so that's in the graveyard of Carlsberg. So I've made like a really nice map of the village of Carlsberg, because the village of Carlsberg is, I'm thinking it'll be a place that I sort of keep coming back to, because it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's on the way to everywhere else that's important. So it'll be like a place where, as the characters are adventuring around, they'll keep coming back to this place time and time again. So it'll be interesting to have a village where the game master can sort of just load up the map of the village, and each building in the village has a pin which goes to like a little description of what is in that building or whatever like that. So the players can effectively go from waltz into the village, go and visit businesses and whatnot in the village without really having to bother the game master. They can say, "Oh, look, I'm going to the blacksmiths because I know the blacksmith, he can repair my gear. I know I can fence jewels, because one of the blacksmiths is a silversmith, and she's Luca Hammerlock. She's always got her eye out for gemstones, so she could become a good place to fence gemstones or sell. Fence assumes that they're stolen. These could just be gemstones that you've found along the way. There's nothing wrong with these gemstones, officer. They were like this when I found them. So it's just something that the characters can come along and they can find these places. Well, that's the idea. Maybe they do need to fence the gemstones. Maybe they are stolen. In which case they do. They do need somewhere they can offload them, where no questions will be asked. Although Luca will ask questions. Because the other place that you could possibly change things into portable wealth, which is the humble and humble coin exchange, which is run by two halfling brothers who are avid coin collectors. They like to collect coins. One of the brothers will ask a ton of questions because he's very curious. Because what he's doing, see, one brother collects the coins, or he collects coins from the Gnome Empire, and he wants to collect one of every minting, because the Gnome Empire mints coins once a year, and then they do like commemorative coins for special festivals and occasions and stuff like that. So one of the brothers is constantly collecting coins for the Gnome Empire. So he's very keen on those. But the other brother, he collects interesting coins from off-worlders. So he's always keen to get his hands on different coins from off-worlders, of coins that he's never seen before. Because one of the things that he's trying to do is he's cataloguing a description of the world from the adventurer that gets the coins from. And he is trying to sort of do his small part for the Great Quest. Since he's not actually adventuring on the Great Quest himself, he's actually collecting coins and he's sort of cataloging where they come from, which will be quite useful for some adventurers, as a means of sort of, because if you manage to find a coin from, well, the world of dragons, let's say, for example, then anybody else who shows up with the similar coin is from the world of dragons, and then you can get these two people in contact with each other and say, hey, look, have you found anything that leads to the world of dragons that could help this guy get back to his world and help you get back there as well? So it's an interesting little perspective that the halfling brother is approaching in this from. Whereas his brother who collects the Gnome Empire coins, he's just sort of like, that's just, there are so many different worlds out there in the multiverse. Why are you bothering? There's coins upon coins upon coins, and they all come from different places. The chances of finding two people from the same place with matching coins is just, it's astronomical. So why are you bothering? But his brother is, just keep plodding away, keep trying, never know. And the coins themselves are interesting. This world uses actual real gold. This one uses coins made from stone. There's so many different things that could pop up. Like, there, in our own world on planet Earth, there are island nations who use giant stone wheels as a form of currency. So, there's interesting stuff out there. Just like this map. But yeah, that's the village of Carlsberg. So I'm slowly describing each of the businesses, so that the players can just, they can just load up they can say, turn to the game master and say, hey, look, I'm going over to this building over here, which I know is it's the carpenters, because I want them to make me a cart, or I want them to repair my crossbow, stuff like that. And then each place will have like a little description of what's in there, and a little list of things that the players could buy. And that way the players sort of, it's exploration that the game master doesn't have to run manually themselves. The players can do it. Which isn't to say, you want to take the fun out of doing that for the game master, but the whole idea is that, me as a content creator, I'm creating content that will help the game master. Oops. And just make a little room in the back of this room. Here we go. Just like that. But yeah, I'm sort of also, with my streaming, I'm making a few little changes. I'm planning to dual stream to YouTube and Twitch at the same time, because I used to stream on Twitch, but I sort of stopped a while ago. And I'm thinking of getting back into streaming on Twitch. But I'm also thinking of doing more streams where I talk about the world of the cube, and sort of more more content creation, more like sort of the rough sketch drawing streams, because they seem to be quite popular. People seem to be very keen to see the designs, and I'm also thinking I'll do like 3D design streams, but you know, it's all up in the air. I've also got a friend who might join me as a fellow commentator, so that it's not just me just blabbering about stuff. I'll actually be discussing the world with someone. And one of the things I want to do with the stream as well is I want to incorporate, I want to have participation by people who tune in and watch. So I may actually start streaming at different times of day, because I stream Monday mornings, and unfortunately, where I live, there's someone here who usually wants my help during the day, and they get quite miffed if I'm not available at the exact moment when they want my help. That they have to wait when I'm streaming, so I may have to reconsider when I stream. But you know, these things, you know, you've got to try. If you don't try, you don't get. Is the way I look at it. You've got to give it a go. Got to experiment with these things. Like how I ended up with making these map tiles. And that was a big experimentation on its own. You know, I just started sort of, you know, what happens when I start putting these things together. Okay, where am I? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the future holds. But hopefully it'll be, because I know making these adventure maps sometimes can be a bit, watching me make these adventure maps can be a little bit boring. So hopefully having someone I can use as a sounding board, and having the more participation by the audience, people will be able to, you know, ask me questions directly. I don't necessarily guarantee that I'll be able to answer your questions. I will try. But, you know, you never know. You never know. You gotta try. Okay, so this is coming. This little maze is going to be coming to a finish. With this room is just going to be a big room. So we'll put this on here, and then we've got to run a wall along there, like that, and put in some cornerstones, and then these walls will be done, and I'll just have to do the floor. The floor shouldn't take too long. Okay, so that needs a bit of wall up there. Could be that one. Okay, so that can sit like that. So we just need a cornerstone there. Where are my cornerstones? Up the top here. Now, if you were a member of my Patreon, that needs to go there. If you're a member of my Patreon, you can get access to this adventure map that I'm building later today, because I do upload it. I upload both the raw construction file, so you can get the raw GIMP file, which has all these layers. So you if you wanted to, you could come along and change all this. But I upload the raw GIMP file, and I'll need another folder here. Oop, not in there, just in there. And the GIMP file, so you can change all the layout. You know, it'll have the floor and the walls and whatnot. But I upload it to an art assets browser that I have on my website that my members have access to. So you could get this adventure map to use in your adventure later today. Now, where's the rock floor? Okay, so let's go and fill in the rock floor. So let's start over here and make certain it's going into our floors folder. There we go. So yeah, you could get this adventure map pretty quickly by just being a member of my Patreon. And you know, being a member of my Patreon, it helps support financially me, which means that I'll be able to make more role-playing goodies. I'll be able to make more map tiles, more adventures. I'll be able to live stream. I'll be able to feed myself. Isn't that good? And you'll get, you know, a wonderful, heartwarming feeling knowing that you're keeping an artist off the street. I think that's, you know, that's makes your heart warm on the inside. You know, feeling that you're helping keep a poor, starving artist off the streets and making art, which is, you know, where we should be. You don't want us crazy artists out there walking the streets. You know, we could do silly things like become the next Banksy and draw politically motivated art on the sides of buildings. We don't want that now. No. We just want to. We artists are a special breed. There we go. Yeah. And I can feel my voice going really lower, which means I need a drink. Oh, pardon me. And where am I going to put? I need more pit traps. More pit traps. Let's put some more pit traps around this place. So put another one here. Oops. We're in the wrong folder. We don't want our pit traps in our walls. We want our pit traps in our floor. There we go. And then we want another pit trap. Let's put it down here. There we go. So it'll make it difficult to get around. You can't have a dungeon without pit traps. And I'll just change the mode. There we go. Yes, you've got to have. If you're going to have a dungeon, you have to have pit traps. It's just unnatural to have a dungeon without pit traps. Okay, here. Just putting it in around the sides. Because this is my Catacombs Dungeon Map Tiles pack. So it's all designed to have sort of like a rough stone, rough cut look. And the artwork is it's actually photographs that then I've then drawn all over. So it's a mixture of photographs and hand-drawn artwork. No AI here. Yeah, isn't that sort of going bonkers at the moment? It's so polarized, like everything else. It's either, everybody's fine with you using AI art, or they're not fine with you using AI art, and it's like, death to you, you used AI art. Never gonna trust you again. I don't know. I can see the use of AI, but I think the problem with AI is that it did come about through unscrupulous companies basically scraping a lot of artists' work, and those artists, they do a lot of great work, and they got nothing for it, not even a thank you. And those companies that made those AIs made bucket loads of money. It's like they found ethics later on, once they'd made their money. Once they were rich, it was like, we're rich now. Now we can discover ethics. But anyway, that's a topic for another time. So let's put a big 1x2 pit trap here. So it's difficult to get into this room from here. Almost there. This is why I made the 2x2 tiles, to help sort of, fill in large bulk areas. Put it down there. Because it can, filling in big areas like this, it can be a bit laborious. But you don't get a nice looking adventure map without working on it. Or at least that's what I say. You've got to spend the time. So there we go. So just trying to quickly get this done. And then we have this big adventure map will be done. Well, it's not really a big adventure map. It's just a 10x10 grid. It's designed to be one part of a whole series of cards, of 10x10 cards, that they can go and put them together. But it's getting close to lunch. Have to go and put some food in my belly. And later on today, I'm hoping to test out a few new features to engage with my audience a little bit more, a little bit better. Give people the option to give me live feedback and ask me questions. That's my aim. Okay. So that's that room completed. And just gotta fill here. So yeah, this is coming along. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 4 more tiles to go down, and then this one is completed, and I will call it a day once I've got this one completed. I sort of started up playing around with Dungeon Scrawl, and then ended up in GIMP. Dungeon Scrawl was pretty cool. It's a very cut down dungeon maker. There we go. The last tile is in place, and that is our maze. So we've got 4, 2 entrances on each side. So it should help players, give players something interesting to explore through the dungeon. So but thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you've had a good time. Hope your Monday pans out to be a good one. But remember, as they say on every stream, like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Become one of us. Become one of us. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you tune in next time. See you later.